Okay, does anyone else find it strange that when these 90-day fiance people come into the country with the intention of marrying someone, or not just intention, they actually marry that someone and the relationship doesn't work out, they actually don't have to leave? Even if their status wasn't changed, they're not made to leave? Like, isn't that the way it's supposed to work? Like, let's take this whole Crystalline mess, for example. I'm thinking, okay, so her marriage didn't work out and she didn't come into the country on a K1 visa, but she's still floating around and got enough energy to be hitting up the Epps trying to join their family. She's not the only one, though, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. This whole lighting thing, so guys, if I look different, it's because I haven't been on camera in a while. And I'm like, it took me forever to set this up because I just haven't done it in a while. And yeah, I'm not sure I'm liking that light, but I'm too lazy to do it again. Anyways, hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Debbie. I am the She in Sheality TV, and today I actually want to talk about this whole Crystalline thing. Okay, I've had this video in the chamber for weeks, and it's just been mulling around in my head. But the reason that I haven't done it is because there are so many moving parts to this woman and her story. I don't know how she's still in the country. B, it's just a mess. Like, and she's got 2 little kids that she's dragging around. Okay, so let's talk. I want to talk about a few of them, right? From Crystalline, Natalie, Hamza. Let's talk about those 3, okay? And the basis of this video is, how are these people still in the country when they don't have status, right? They didn't get a status change. Crystalline, for starters, didn't come into the US on a K1 visa. She came in on a visitor's visa, right? Because remember, she came when the whole world was going to hell in a handbasket, and she got onto one of the last flights out of Africa, right? On that episode, Ashley actually says, and I think I mentioned this in a video last year, when Ashley says the easiest way to get her to be able to stay in the country will be to bring her over and marry her, right? And that way she could stay. Well, that's illegal. That's called immigration fraud, right? So, anyway, we're all talking about how Crystalline is talking about joining the Epps family, right? And one of another YouTuber that I watch very often, her channel is called Burgundy Blue Commentary, and if you guys haven't watched it, you got to go over and watch, especially if you're into Sister Wives. I don't watch Sister Wives, and it's way late in the game now for me to start watching and doing commentary on Sister Wives, but I watch her commentary, right? Because she brings up a lot of things that most people don't think about, right? And her commentary actually makes you go, oh, I never thought of that. So if you're into Sister Wives, go watch Burgundy Blue Commentary. But anyway, we were having this conversation, and I'm just like, how is Crystalline even still in the country, right? For starters, she came over on a visitor's visa, right? Now, if you come over on a visitor's visa and you get married in the US, you are obligated to leave the country. And the person that you married in the US is then supposed to apply for the correct visa so you can come back, which in their case would have been the K1, right? So because they, I guess, wanted to skip that whole process because the whole world was shutting down. Like I said, she was getting on one of the last flights out of Africa. She got to the US, married, Snowden, and, thought she was going to live happily ever after. And then their whole relationship went belly up, right? So after that, and I'll put the video up here somewhere that I did on that, right? So after that happened, everybody was talking about, oh, well, you know what? If you come to the US to get married, and you get married, and you wind up in a relationship that is, for lack of a better word, terrifying. I don't know. The other person is not nice to you. And the reason that I use these other convoluted terms is because YouTube has very sensitive ears, and if I say certain words, the video will get demonetized. So that's why, if you guys are wondering why most YouTubers will use a different term for like, the big C word that's been going on for the last 2.5 years, stuff like that. It's for that reason. YouTube has like listening software that will demonetize the video if we actually say certain words. Anyway, so she came in at the beginning of the pandemonium and all the craziness, and so she stayed, right? She came in on the wrong visa and she stayed. Okay, so we're talking about this, and I'm like, why doesn't she just go back to Africa? Wouldn't that be easier? Like, she got married to what's his nose, Snowden, and that relationship hit the skids. She moved out, filed charges against him, whatever, and then she and the other sister wives, there was this big camaraderie, whatever. They set up a GoFundMe for her. They raised 10 grand, and I guess that was supposed to help her find another place to live and feed her and her kids and whatever, right? But I'm like, what has she been doing since then, right? She stayed fairly low-key, with the exception of the fact that, she started making like fairly regular Instagram posts. And again, I don't follow most of these people. This is just what I hear in the wind, right? So she's making, an Instagram post here, there, whatever. But I'm like, sis, you still don't have status. You're still in the US on a visitor visa, right? She didn't go back to Africa, unless she went back to Africa and then came back into the US, because it is illegal to come into the US on a visitor's visa and get married and not leave. It's legal to come into the US on a visitor's visa and get married, but you have to leave the country and, like I said before, file for the proper paperwork, right, to come back in. And she did not do that because her relationship with Dimitri went sour, so now she doesn't have a sponsor, right? He's not gonna, she's not gonna leave the country and have them apply for sponsorship for her, right? So she's still in the US because if she leaves, she probably won't be allowed to come back in, right? So now, and I said in a conversation earlier that, you know what? She's probably not leaving because if she leaves, she won't be able to get back in because she came into the country and got married and didn't leave. Now, granted, because of all the shit that's been going on, she hadn't been able to leave for a while, but she's probably been able to leave for the last, 8-9 months, a year? She's been here for more than 2.5 years, right? So everything's been going back to normal and whatever. She could have gone back if she wanted to, right? But she doesn't want to, clearly. So we're like, she probably reached out to the Epps', right? The Epps family. She probably slid into their DMs because she's got to live somewhere, right? She's in the country under the wrong visa. She can't leave. She can't work. So what does she do now? She ain't going to set up another GoFundMe. Who's going to set up a GoFundMe for her, right? So she's got to live somewhere. And that type of a relationship, the whole polygamous relationship business, is probably one of the few types of relationships that she could get into with her daughters in which she will not be expected to get a job, right? So I don't know how she's flying under the radar for this long, but the other point that the other thing that I need to get out of my head is how, if she winds up with the Epps family and they wind up on season 5, what are we, season 4, I don't know, whatever, the next season of Seeking Sister Wife, if she winds up on that season, she can't get paid because she doesn't have a working visa, because she's not in the country legally, right? If everything that we've seen is true, if nothing else has happened, if she didn't find a sponsor somewhere and marry someone else or someone else bring her into the country or whatever, right? If everything that happened that we saw is true, she split with the Snowdens and blah, 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 whatever, she didn't leave the country, she's actually in the country illegally and she doesn't have a green card and she doesn't have a working visa, right? She doesn't have paperwork that will allow her to work, so she can't get paid, right? But if I were a woman in her position, I would be thinking, I don't really care whether or not I get paid. I can't leave the country because I probably won't be allowed to come back in, and at least I'll have a roof over my head and food in my mouth. And same with my daughters, right? So yeah, I'm just like, how is she still here? How has she been living? Like, what has she been doing? Right? Like, now she's hanging out with the Epps family. And I would bet dollars to donuts that she is going to wind up on that show because she's going to end up living with them. And like I said, it's because she has to, right? Her only other option, in my mind, is that she would go back to Africa, right? Where her friends and her family are. And I'm like, why would she not just fly back? Why would she not just take her kids back to everything that she's familiar with? And then I was like, unless she can't go back, right? If she plans to come back to the US, if she leaves the US and goes back to Africa, she'll be tagged as an overstay, right? They'll look at her visa and know that she stayed 2.5 years when she wasn't legally allowed to. So she could get banned. If she even applies for a driver's license, right, she could get deported because they'll see that she's not a citizen and she doesn't have paperwork, right? Which is, like I said, why she would want to live with the Epps, because then she doesn't have to get a job. Anyway, that's my whole thought process on the whole Crystalline thing. Let's talk about Natalie, okay? Remember Mike and Natalie? Mike and Natalie, Mike brought her in on a K-1 visa. She also came in on one of the last flights out of the Ukraine, right? And that relationship went belly up. And Mike didn't change her status. He didn't sign the affidavit of support either, right? So she's got no job, and she says on the Single Life, which she's now on, and I don't know how she's getting paid because she says she doesn't have a job, she can't work. So, how's she flying back and forth? She's dating this dude, and I'm just like, how is she even still in the country, right? She got married to this guy, they split. He didn't change her status, and he didn't sign the affidavit of support. So, doesn't that trigger deportation? No. But in Natalie's case, it might be a little different because she comes from the Ukraine, and they're not sending anyone back to that country, right? Natalie was like, oh, Mike didn't change my status and da-da-da-da and all this whatever. She was begging him to change her status and he didn't. But now I'm like, Natalie, you could probably change your status on your own because of where you come from. Nobody is getting sent back to that country right now. So, Natalie, if you're watching this, reach out to U.S. Immigration and see if they won't change your status for you. You did actually come in on the correct visa, and I don't even think they're divorced yet. Mike and Natalie, are they divorced yet? I don't think so. Anyway, so Natalie's dating this, whatever his name, Josh dude, who supposedly, he owns a modeling agency. But I don't know, this dude, he's very patient, which I don't understand, because she flies off the handle over absolutely nothing. And I feel like this dude being on this show is a favor to someone. Do you know what I mean? He is not there because he actually wants to date Natalie, because seriously, Natalie's batshit. She's not, I don't think she's sane, right? And like on the second date, she's talking about having kids and commitment, and she's pissed because I don't like her. She makes me nuts. But I don't know how this Josh is standing her, unless he's doing this as a favor to someone else. That's why I feel like someone reached out to him and said,
hey, do you want to come on the show and play her love interest?
Right? That's the only way I can see anyone dealing with Natalie, right? Anyways, that was very short. That's the other one. I mean, she has an excuse. She's from a country that is currently in chaos. But anyway, let's talk about Hamza. Him too. How is he still? He's floating around like some hobo model wannabe in Chicago or something. I don't know what kind of visa he came to the U.S. on, but he came to the U.S., what's-her-nose, Memphis, had his kid, and then they split. And since then, he's been wandering around like some, I don't know, like I said, like some hobo model wannabe, because someone is recording him walking around like, I don't know. Someone told this guy that he should be a model, and they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have, because, I'm sorry, Hamza, you're not a model. You're a decent-looking guy, but you're not a model. I don't know, if you have a way to get paperwork or status or whatever, work visa, go get a job. You need a job, right? Because he's posted pictures or posted video on his Instagram of himself, like kickboxing or kicking a heavy bag or whatever, and punching a heavy bag. I'm like, that's not a job, dude. That isn't a job. You need a job. Like a real job. But he's still in the country. And clearly he doesn't have working papers. He doesn't have a green card. He doesn't is it just me? Am I the only one thinking, okay, what? How are all of these other people from other nations doing it the way that it's supposed to be done? Filing the paperwork and paying the money and doing all of that other kind of stuff. And all of these other people are just like, well, not all these other people who wind up on a 90 Day Fiance show. How are they all just getting into the US and then buggering off? And you know what I mean? They stay in the US and do whatever it is that they want to do, or they stay in the US and they clout chase, right? All of these people who wind up on 90 Day Fiance for the purposes of clout chasing get to stay in the country with no harassment. I don't get that. I'm confused. If I were working for US immigration, I would be hardcore watching this show. I would be. Yo, immigration, do you need another employee? You need someone to work for you? I know who I'd go after. I know that sounds terrible, but I'm just like, there are people who actually need to stay for whatever reason, right? They can't go back to their country or whatever. There are actually people who try to immigrate the right way, and they either get turned down or it takes them years to do it. And I know people who, they're doing it too. They're doing it the right way, and it's taking years. And then you got, these people. You know what? The best way to enter the US is to get on an international dating site and get yourself on 90 Day Fiance, right? I don't know. Anyway, it has been a while since I did a video. It's probably been a week since I did a video, but it's been a lot longer than that since I actually got on camera. And like I said, at the beginning of this video, this took a while to set up because I'm not used to doing it anymore. And I will try to do it a little more often. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this whole Crystalline thing is kind of fishy? I'm surprised that she hasn't been deported. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they are after her. Maybe that's why she wants to, slide into the Epps family, because he's not married to either of them yet, right? Marcus isn't married to either of those women yet. Taryn or, God, I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry. Taryn or, the feisty one, right? He's not married to either of them yet, right? So why do I feel like Crystalline is going to be the one that, well, she can't. She's got to divorce what's-his-nose first, right? Because they're, as far as I know, not divorced yet. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. What do you think about this whole Crystalline mess? What do you think of the fact that Hamza is just kind of wandering around Chicago playing model? I find that just hilarious. It's a joke to me. Every time I watch one of those videos, I'm just like, dude, get a job. Please. For the love of God, get a job. Anyways, again and as usual, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.